What Involve does is to encourage and support patients, carers, members of the public to be involved in the whole of the research cycle, because we believe and we know that greater public involvement in research improves the quality of that research. We often see involvement itself as being part on a continuum. So we can see involvement at one point being about consultation. So researchers will consult with the community or with service users and patients about the research they're intending to do and make changes as a result of that consultation. Then there can be collaboration, and that's a far more active involvement of patient representatives or service user representatives throughout the whole of the trial or whatever the piece of research is, from beginning through to dissemination, through to user-controlled research, which is what this piece of work is about. And each of those are done in different ways currently in research, and all of them have their place.
At its simplest, it's simply about service users being in control of the research, having that absolute sort of say over what the research is going to be looking at, what are the questions, what is going to happen in this research project.
The word that for me always highlights what's special about user-controlled research is that it enables people as service users to develop, to pursue, to act on their own discourse. It's not a nice word, it's a bit of jargon, but what it's meant by discourse is what they think matters. And of course, one of the things that's so exciting about user-controlled research is it's often coming at issues in very different ways, with very different priorities, for very different reasons to traditional research. So we get a whole new set of insights, all sorts of new knowledge created because of the particular perspective of people as service users.
I'd been ill for such a long time, about 15 years, and nobody knew what was wrong with me. And then eventually, when I got better and realised what the problem was, I decided to set up Thyroid UK so that other people wouldn't have to go through what I went through. Hello, Thyroid UK, can I help? We all sat down one day chatting, thinking, what can we do? There must be something wrong with the blood tests. We really need to look into this a bit more and perhaps do some research. The study is, I feel, totally user-controlled. From the people in the office, like myself, from the study coordinator who had ME and who is better now, even the two doctors that are helping us have hypothyroidism and take thyroid medication. It's just totally user-controlled, and we're really proud of that.
And in the NHS, we don't always know what's best for the client group. And those client groups can be vulnerable, so they're often the best people to give us answers to problems that we believe that we have.
PCTs across the country were getting towards equity and access funding, and that funding was meant to be used to help deaf people access mental health services. But Matthew himself, being deaf and a commissioner as well, he knew the money was just being lost, and so he basically wanted experiences of deaf people in this area in the North East.
I would say one of the greatest benefits of user-led research is that you're more reassured that the actual research goes to the heart of the issue or the heart of the question. Clearly it's a user-led perspective, and this is a young person's perspective. This is what matters and this is what's important. And so we know from when we start that there is value in this question.
It was young people led the research from the beginning, and we decided what we wanted to do, how we wanted to do it, like who wanted to be interviewing and everything. But we did have a lot of help from like Rachel Gibson, who was participation officer at the time. She was brilliant. She kept everyone's morale up, especially at the beginning, because at the beginning of the project there was a lot of planning and a lot of sitting around working things out. She helped keep everyone's morale up and keep everyone going.
We designed some questionnaires for the people in care to ask them what was right, what was wrong, what they felt uncomfortable with, why they didn't feel normal in their home life, what would not going correct in their home life, and things like that.
We did some like questionnaires, then we went to different places, day centres, other people's homes, and did a lot of group work with people with learning difficulties and what they would like from a PA. And I also did like some writing up on the feedback on what we've been told.
Then we got funding from Skills for Care, and that actually funded a whole training package to use the research.
How would it make you feel after a month of all this?
Glue means get the life you want. Some people are held back, some people are distracted from moving from house to house to house. Some people are distraught from things that have happened from their biological family. It can mess your schooling up, can mess your education up, and it's just really to give people the support, the ideas, something different, and just really to, like it's in the name, get the life you want.
An important part of the research design was focus groups, and how the deaf community is a very sociable community. So being in their language means that one person will say something and another person will pick it up, and then it would get more information. And I think that that's another important part of me being deaf, because if there was a hearing person with an interpreter there, it would just sort of be a stilted conversation. So I think that was another advantage with me being able to be fully involved. It meant that I could ask questions and things like that. So I think that focus groups are quite a nice part of it, matching their culture and their language.
It's best coming for someone who has a learning disability to talk to someone with a learning disability, so you can express it in alternative ways.
I think everybody involved in the study has felt more empowered because they're doing something for themselves and for other people. It's very important that there's passion in this study. The patients, everybody who's given us funding, they're really passionate about it, and it's made everybody feel really good actually about themselves.
It is very important that young people have this chance because it gives them a voice. It lets them see, right, this is what is the problem, this is what needs changing, this is what but this is what we think you're doing good, keep it going. Yeah, and I mean it really does give young people the chance to see it, and it empowers them. It gives them more self-esteem because they know they're being listened to.
The funding was nowhere near enough. As you can see, the calibre of the report that we presented and the DVD, the standard of the DVD, was only possible because it was part funded through our youth parliament. The funding that we got probably was 10% of what was spent, and I'm excluding like all the worker time.
By bringing me in, it almost in some ways gives me a bit more power over them, and sometimes I don't quite like that. I feel a bit uncomfortable because in the end I'm asking them for their time to tell their story, and I'm the one being paid for it.
There were certain themes that we did and it was absolutely silent in the room. You know, there were tears in their eyes, and you'd not be human if you couldn't be moved by what some of the young people had been saying to us and then having to analyse that.
Quite a lot of negativity around children getting hurt, living in the wrong areas, getting beat up, and that were quite harsh to hear really, because it brought memories back to our hearts from when we were younger.
What I've also learned through this project is that user-controlled research is very much about making a difference. I think that mostly service users as individuals, as groups, as organisations are very motivated for that research to make a difference.
With all this going on, how would you feel now? Doing the researching of it all, then doing the training, it was a really big step for me to achieve what I wanted to achieve.
It's made an impact not just for people with learning difficulties, but there's an awful lot of people trained that some people had never even considered doing it as a job before. So this was an opportunity for them to have experience.
We'd made a DVD with our findings to give to all the heads of service and stuff, and we'd actually done a presentation. I've made a difference, kind of thing. Well, I've been part of that, and I mean, that opened so many doors for like the wire on as well. So many other opportunities coming through it as well, so it's been a success.
It did have an impact. It did make the social workers and decision managers who presented this to think a bit more about the young person's point of view on the reviews, and as a result of this, we're actually being asked to make a DVD in order to inform every young person when they first come to care what the review system is, what their rights are and how it can work for them. I didn't like reviews when I was younger, so to know now that the information is there and the young people are going to get this information so they know what it's about, it feels brilliant because I didn't know anything.
18th of the 5th, 1990.
There's definitely been an impact from doing the research already, yeah, because people have found that they've got hypothyroidism and have been treated and started to get better.
It's really important that the public and people who fund research, it's important they realise that the best research is going to have the involvement of the people concerned.
Youth health research should continue because it really does have an impact. It helps the young people as well, self-esteem, confidence building, everything. It's good for not only the other young people that they get effects from it, but it's good for the young people involved because it really helps them.
I think it's very important that the patients have a say because your needs are often different to what the professionals think your needs are.
What we hope is that by hearing these stories of these particular pieces of research, that will encourage other communities who might have thought research, not for me, not for us, to become engaged and to ask to be involved in a really active way in research in the future.